Hello and welcome. Today's lesson is going to be about domain and range of discrete relations. The objective of today's lesson is to identify the domain and range of discrete relations. The vocabulary for this lesson consists of domain. Domain is the x values. So anytime you see the word domain, think about x. And range is y values. So whenever you see the word range, think about the y values. Please note that y can be written as f of x, h of x, or anything parenthesis x. So let's say p of x. That is the same as saying y. So on these problems right here, we're going to determine the domain and range of the relations. And furthermore, we said that today's going to be about discrete relations. These are discrete relations. Set of order pairs of discrete relations, table, diagrams, and graphs that are scatter plots. Scatter plots are graphs that has points like this, and you don't see any line. You just see points plotted on a graph. Okay, so these are what we call discrete relations. And basically, one of the characteristics of discrete relations is that for the domain and range, you're going to see a list of numbers. Okay, so let's take a look. In these problems, we're going to find domain and range of each relation. And we're also going to revisit, is it a function, yes or no? So let's start with the domain. Domain is the x values. So you look at the first number on each parenthesis, and that's your x coordinates, okay, your x values. So right there, I see those values. And usually when I write domain, I write in numerical order, starting with the smallest. So from these values that I have here, I start with 2, 5, 6, and 12. Very good. The range is going to be the second number. So basically we're going to look at these numbers and we're going to start with the smallest. So the smallest one will be negative 12, negative 3, 2, and 3. And the question is this a function, yes or no? If you remember, the rule of functions for if I have a list of order pair is that the x value cannot repeat, and it doesn't, so therefore this is a function. Let's look on this table right here. On this table, I see the x values, and I see that they're already in order. So let's do negative 3, negative 2, 0, 1, and 4. Now for the range, I notice that I have 3 and 4 and 3 repeats. So whenever I describe the range, I can just write it once. So the 3 appears twice, that's okay. We just write it once. And then 4, that basically is telling you that the number pertains to range are 3 and 4. Question is it a function? If you notice, we always focus on the x value, and the x value cannot repeat, and it doesn't. So therefore, it is a function. Don't worry that the y repeats. We don't care about that. What we care is about the x values. All right, let's go on to the next one. Next one, I have a diagram, and basically I'm going to find the domain. Domain is the x values, and range is the y values. Please notice that this happened once in the STAR test, that sometimes instead of writing y over here on top, they wrote f of x, but we know that this is another way of saying y. So you know that this side here is your y values. So looking over here, starting with the smallest, this would be negative 6, negative 3, 0, and 2. The number 2 repeats, so therefore I just have to write it once. And for the range, I just write negative 2, comma 0. And there we go. Now, is it a function? Well, the problem is the 2 repeats right here. We only have one arrow coming from each number from the left to the right, but the problem is the x, because remember, this has 2 conditions. The x cannot repeat, and there's supposed to be only one arrow coming from the left to the right. All right, next problem. Next problem, I have a scatter plot. Scattered plot. Basically, this is called a scatter plot because if you notice, the points are all scattered through the coordinate plane. And whenever we see that, we know that this is a discrete relation, so therefore we expect to see a list of numbers. So to find the domain, I'm going to put my pencil like this. I'm going to move it across from left to right. And the first place I touch is that point right there. So then I look over here, and what is my x value right there? Well, remember, this is 0, -1, -2. So that is -2. I continue moving my pencil to the left, to the right. And the next point I touch is this one, which is 0. So let's write it 0. Continue moving. The next point that I touch is right here, which is the 2, positive 2. And the last one, as I continue moving, it will be 4. Please notice that here I touch 2 points, but it doesn't matter. The x values is the same, which is 2. Okay, now for the range, we're going to do the y. So the y, you put your pencil on the horizontal and you move up. And so we're moving up the y-axis here. We're focusing our attention. And when we touch a point, we notice right there, this is, okay, if we start right here, this is this is 0, -1, -2, -3. So that means our first y is -3. Then we'll continue moving up, and the next value is -1. And the next value would be 2. And I continue moving up, then it will be 3. And the last one would be 4. So please remember that when you do domain, you put your pencil like this on the vertical and you go from left to right, and you determine anytime you touch a point, that would be a value that you're going to add to the list. So -2, 0, 2, and 4. For the range, you put the pencil on the horizontal and you move up along the y-axis, and you're checking anytime that you touch a point, that's your y value that you're going to write. So we wrote -3, -1, 2, 3, and 4. Then the next question is it a function? If you remember the vertical line test, as I move it across, I'm supposed to only touch 1 point at a time, and the problem is right there. I'm touching 2 points, so therefore this is not a function. At this point on the video, go ahead and stop the video and try this next practice problems. Once you have finished these practice problems, restart the video to see if you did it correctly. Welcome back. So you had a chance to try these problems, and so let's see if you did it correctly. Remember, domain is x, range is y. For the domain, you look at the first value on each parenthesis, and you write in numerical order. So the smallest value is -3, followed by -2, followed by 2, and 3. So there we go. And then for the range, you're going to have -4, 4, and 5. And if you notice, the 5 repeats, but you just write once. Okay. And the question is it a function? Yes, it is, because the x value does not repeat. So put a check mark, yes. For the next one, I have a table. Remember, domain is your x value, which is right here. So I'll start with the smallest, which is -12, -8, 6, 8, and 14. For the next one, I'll start with the smallest one for the y value, -9, -5, 7, and 8. And the question is it a function? Well, the x value does not repeat, so yes, it is a function. And the last one is a scatter plot. So for the domain, we're looking for x, for the range, y. To find the domain, we put the pencil on the vertical and we move it across. And the first place we touch is -3, followed by -1, followed by 0, 4, and 5. So I'm going to write it there, -1, 0, 4, and 5. And for the y, or the range, I put my pencil like this and I move up from bottom up. So right there I have -4, -1, 0, 4, 5. So let's write it down. -4, -1, 0, 4, and 5. And the question is this a function? As I move my pencil across, I'm only touching one point at a time, so definitely it is a function. And that concludes our lesson for today, lesson 1.2 on domain and range of discrete relations. Basically, remember, domain is x value, range is y values. And usually in discrete relations, you're gonna get discrete relations from set of ordered pairs, tables, diagrams, and graphs that are scatter plot. This concludes our lesson, so thank you very much for your time. I hope this lesson was helpful, and have a great day. Bye-bye.